If you've experienced something unbelievably weird and unexplainable that left you feeling isolated and afraid, the Paranormal PTSD Recovery Podcast is for you. Each week, we go from haunting to healing by focusing on one of our three core focal points: personal stories, healing tips, and understanding the unknown. We help you to know that you're not crazy, you're not alone, and you can heal. Now here's your hostess, Laura Giles. When someone has an experience that they can't understand, one of the first questions that they ask is, am I crazy? That was a podcast topic from 2 weeks ago. The next most popular question is, are these spirits or aliens friends or deceivers? Even if your experience was overwhelmingly positive, I think it's a good idea to question everything because it's a common tactic to love bomb and butter up your prey before you attack. In Hansel and Gretel, the witch lures the children with the candy house. In The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, all it took was some Turkish taffy and a promise to become prince to get Edmund to betray his siblings. And of course, the witch isn't Edmund's friend. She's only using him. It's the same with child predators who use puppies to lure children away, or gold diggers who just want someone's money. In Steve Aspen's podcast, which is in the archives, he also says that aliens lie. They have their own agenda, and just like with people, you can't believe what they say just because they're aliens. Same with spirits. Just because they're spirits doesn't make them trustworthy. We believe what we want to believe, and a little emotional vulnerability or a need to feel special can go a long way into us stooping ourselves into falling into a trap. It can be tempting to think that you're a chosen one. Maybe it's not true. So today, I'm going to help you see through clearly so you can decide whether your spiritual or paranormal experience really is a friendly, beneficial encounter or something more sinister. And if you have had an alien or spiritual encounter and you want to share whether yours is positive or negative, please do that in the comments. Let us know how you figured it out. And if you're still figuring it out, the first thing that you need that no one else can give you is a skill of discernment. You can only have that if you practice mindfulness. And mindfulness is the ability to see what is here and now. It removes all past prejudice, expectations, judgments, or anything that's not here now. It helps to clear the lens so that each moment is a new experience. We can meet this moment without our fear, hope, or anything that might get in the way. We're not adding anything or taking anything away. Everything is what it is, no more, no less. Sounds simple, but it takes a lot of practice. We're human. We have desires, emotional baggage, wounds, and these things aren't always apparent to us, so we can miss it. And if you've ever been in a domestic violence relationship or knew someone who was in one, it always starts out nice. We think this one isn't like the last. It only gets as bad as name-calling, hitting, choking, and controlling because we make excuses and overlook stuff. After all, it's the kind thing to do. It's compassionate to give people another chance, to not hold mistakes against them, and to be understanding and to stand by them when they're down. This is the behavior that someone who wants to take advantage of you will use against you. And when you're mindful, you can see all the red flags clearly and back away without feeling guilty, obligated, or like you're a bad person. It is what it is. If a line is crossed and it's a hard stop for you, it's a hard stop. If trust is violated, it's violated. You don't keep putting your head in the lion's mouth or expecting him not to snap his jaw shut at some point. No, you're like, oh, that's a lion. I need to back up. And you have a much better chance of seeing that the first time because you might not get a second chance if you're practicing mindfulness. So mindfulness is such a good skill for everyday life too, because I think this rise in paranormal events is calling for us to be more self-aware and conscious. Mindfulness is the key to that consciousness. When we ask what's going on here, we can't really answer without mindfulness. All the stuff you hide from yourself becomes apparent when you start to look at it. And once you start to see your own games, it's a whole lot easier to see other people's. For example, when I was a teenager, I started to become self-conscious. And because I was self-conscious, I started playing games with myself and lying. Maybe I wanted to go out or to drink or to sleep with someone, but I didn't want to say that. So I'd play a game to get what I wanted without being judged. Now, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Now I look at that and say, it's so unnecessary. But, when you're a kid and you have no life experience, you do silly stuff like that. Hopefully you grow out of it, love yourself, and own your stuff. If you're not there yet, maybe it's time to give that a try so you can live fully and honestly. If you're not showing up honestly, then a part of your life is a lie anyway. That makes trying to figure out if someone is a friend or foe a lot harder because we always have to know where we are standing to make that choice. And that's the second thing that I'll say will help you to determine whether your spiritual or paranormal experience is good and true or not. Now, presumably, we're talking about an experience with an entity or intelligence. Something was communicated to you and you want to know if you can trust it. I invite you to either write this down or visualize this in your mind's eye. So, see a square in the middle of your paper. Now, put a dot in the center of that square. One above it, one below it, one to the right, one to the left. Now, and add another one to the far right and one to the far left. If you are in a relationship with a person, place, or thing, what you just drew or envisioned shows the possible relationships, okay? People who assume authority rely on their credentials, address, bank account, beauty, position, or some other feature that elevates them above others so that they're in the top position. They're on top. They look down on you. You look up to them. They might give pronouncements from on high, and you're expected to listen, trust, and obey. I don't know about you, but that's not something that would give me a warm and fuzzy feeling. I believe in sovereignty, so I don't tell people what to do and don't take kindly to being told what to do. I want the freedom to decide what to believe, what I want, what I do, and I'm ready to give that to others because it's a human right. As long as the practice of my freedom doesn't infringe on yours and vice versa, we're good. And having someone above me isn't that. So any creature who comes at me with that isn't going to be well received. If the Hebrew God came down and told me to build an ark, all the animals in my family would be toast because I wouldn't do it, just based on authority in his command. I'm American. We don't generally roll like that. Because I said so is the reasoning of a tyrant or authority, and the person who uses that logic probably isn't looking out for you. You're an underling, a resource, a servant, or something else that's not equal, so I wouldn't expect kind treatment from someone in that position. They're looking out for themselves. Now, I might benefit too, but it's not about me. When someone is below you, now you're on top. They're supporting you. What you want is more important than what they want, and they're there to please you. This might seem like a pretty good deal until you think it through some more. This is codependency. A person doesn't get to be in this position unless they grew up in a dysfunctional home where their parents weren't leaders. The rules were not firm, fair, and consistent. The parents probably couldn't regulate their emotions, so the child is the one calling the shots in a passive-aggressive way by placating the parents, so the parents are calm and agreeable. Only when the parents are calm and agreeable can this child now relax. So it's a I'm not okay until you're okay kind of thing. So this person grows up to be the same way with people around him. He's always looking out to see if you need something. Are you comfortable? Can I do one more thing to make your life easier? And it's nice to be taken care of in this way, but the person who's doing it is secretly feeling used and resentful. They're wondering when you're going to do the same for them. Only they act like they don't need anything, so you can't really return the favor. But rest assured, this will backfire one day. They either blow up or implode on themselves into depression. I don't really hear of paranormal encounters like this. I do hear of spiritual contacts where the spirit is telling the person how wonderful and important they are. That's not exactly like this, but it's the closest that comes to this. In that case, the spirit is propping up your ego and elevating your position to make you more important than they are. So that's putting you on top. And in this case, it's more like love bombing to get you to trust them, believe them, and do what they want you to do when the time comes for the ask. Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss the show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. So it's not a great position for anybody to be in either if you want a trusting, healthy relationship. Now, the position to the far right, if you're that person, you're way out in front. You're the leader of the pack. This is a lonely place to be because you have no support. There's no one to follow. You're blazing a trail with no way of knowing how you're doing because no one has gone here before. So this is a position of visionaries and pioneers. And when you think of those people, who do you think of? Nelson Mandela, Steve Jobs, Richard Branson, Walt Disney, Coco Chanel, Gandhi, Jane Goodall, Florence Nightingale. Do any of those people strike you as the kind of people you might see as your best friend? I don't know who any of them were personally, but they were fiercely devoted to what they believed in and had a mission. While this isn't a disqualifier for being trustworthy, I don't think this is the type of relationship that would have my best interest at heart. I think whatever their mission is would be at the forefront of their minds. This person is way in front and I'm too far behind to keep up. This could make us not particularly close, not so connected, right? We probably don't see eye to eye and we're just too far apart. Now, the person to the far left is just the opposite. Now, you are way in front of this person and can't relate because of the distance. There's just nothing in common. It would be like a 17-year-old dating a 30-year-old. The 17-year-old just couldn't keep up because she lacks the life experience and maturity. And this is exactly the position that we are in with aliens as far as technology and skills are concerned. We're way behind. We can't communicate telepathically at will. We can't walk through walls, engage in space travel, or put people in a frozen state where they can't move, but their minds are still functioning. Imagine that trying to communicate with a creature like that, who's that far behind, would be like trying to talk to a Neanderthal about the stock market or organized religion. So why would a creature who is that far advanced want to contact us? Doesn't it make you wonder? I doubt that it's for our advancement. I mean, when we, being humans, have encountered people with less technology, we kill them and we take their resources. If aliens are anything like that, we're in trouble. So we have a couple of other unexplored relational positions, and the one to the right is always right. They're right beside you. This is all right, except that if they're right, then you're left, as in left behind sometimes. But it's good to have a right-hand man, so if you're in a relationship with your spiritual entity or alien feels like this, it may be okay. The left is who's left. Again, it's very close, but it's a kind of runner-up position. If anyone stands here, this is good too. They're close enough that you always know what's up and you can keep an eye on things. You're eye to eye, most likely, so this is okay. For people who are the closest, that's the dot inside the box. They're with you. Back in the day, when someone talked about making love, they'd say, I want to be with you. That's really intimate, isn't it? In order to be with someone, you have to have the willingness to let them in and a desire for someone to be there with you. It's a relationship. One person can't make this happen. It takes two. In the movie What Dreams May Come, the wife suicides and the husband dies not long after, and he follows her to hell or purgatory. I'm not sure which. He was with her. We don't have that language in our culture anymore because we don't have that vulnerability or trust. It's rare to find someone strong enough to allow others to be with them. One of the spiritual tricks to making this happen is love bombing. I started having strange experiences about 4 or 5 years ago that felt like soft waves of love while I was sleeping. It felt the way that it does when someone's doing energy healing or when someone loves you and is thinking of you. But there was something about this that felt canned or artificial. At the same time, I get these visual sensations or characters or symbols. And I told a friend about it and he says, oh, you're getting downloads. The spirits, because I don't think he said aliens, but he might have, are upgrading your DNA to prepare you for the ascension. I didn't know anything about this, so I didn't say anything, but all along I was thinking, how about boundaries? I didn't give any permission for this. So I started researching. And the next time that it happened, I tried to mentally communicate with whatever intelligence was doing this. And I told them, I don't consent. Leave me alone and stop this right now. That's when I was sure that it wasn't something for my highest and best good because it didn't stop. Instead, I felt like I was being jumped and forced to have this experience. So that soft love wave sensation stopped, and it felt more like an electric force field holding me down. I don't have any idea what that was, but I can tell you that it's not good. Spiritual beings that were humans or have evolved with humans as helpers understand human culture. They understand love and boundaries and sovereignty. Any creature that's coming from love would not violate your boundaries, try to trick you, pretend to be something that they're not. And I suppose that this is the final test that I would apply to any experience to find out if it's trustworthy and for your highest good. Are they coming from love? Love doesn't hurt. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. That comes from 1 Corinthians and is as good a description as any. Don't forget to put on that mindfulness cap so you don't talk yourself into something that isn't true. And I'd also run it by the relationship test. Where are you on the totem pole? Someone who is standing with me is going to have the same consequences that I have if something bad goes down. The person standing beside me has a high likelihood of that being there for the good or the bad. Everyone else, not so much. This is important because so many of us learn what love is from our parents, and that experience distorts what love is. If your parents made you earn your praise and attention, you may feel that love has to be deserved. You may want to please an entity to keep their approval. Some parents neglect their children. In today's society, it's more common for the material needs to be provided, but the emotional needs to be unfulfilled. So you learn that you have to wait around for scraps of attention and are so grateful to receive anything. Or if your parents were abusive, you may have learned that love is pain. So if an entity is neglectful, abusive, or lies and manipulates, that might feel like love. Sounds crazy. I know most people say they would never stand for that, and yet that's exactly the human relationships that they're in. So it's not crazy. I have a skewed way of viewing the world because I spend every day, all day with people who have problems, mostly PTSD. But what I see is a lot of people with PTSD who have no idea that they have PTSD because their situation feels normal. It's not healthy to have to chase love. It's not healthy to feel bad or on edge around people. Healthy people don't love bomb each other. They slowly develop intimacy and trust when their relationships over time show that the other person is consistent and reliable. So do the same with your spiritual or alien relationships. Your guardian angel won't mind being tested. Your spirit guide won't mind taking things slowly. Spirits and aliens aren't humans. They may have different cultures and norms for how they do things, but you are human. You need to move at the speed that's comfortable for you. I wouldn't trust anyone or anything just because they're paranormal. They can be as deceptive as people. Just because someone's dead doesn't mean they're wise or trustworthy. Just because someone's from another dimension doesn't mean that they know what's best for you. Oh, and you have another weapon at your disposal. That's your intuition. I talked with Kim Chesney about that a few podcasts back. If you haven't checked that out, it's a good one. We all have a gut instinct. The more you listen to it, the stronger it gets. If something doesn't feel right, you need more information. It doesn't mean something's wrong necessarily, but it does mean that all the pieces aren't clicking yet, so slow down. That's how I was feeling when I started getting these downloads. It was like, this should feel more comfortable and good, but it doesn't. I mean, I'm all wrapped up in this bubbly, pink, soft, loving feeling, but it just felt off. It was like if you could bottle the chemicals of love and spray them in the air, you'd have all the things. Everything's happening that goes on physiologically, but it wasn't connecting to my spirit. So my spirit was saying, hold up. And logically, if it doesn't make sense either, I mean, who sneaks up on a stranger at night and love bombs them and forces data into their brain? It's got to make sense. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but it doesn't sound like whatever is happening is for my benefit, but for theirs. It's like a drug dealer shoving drugs into someone's bag at the airport so they can pick them up at the destination with no risk to themselves or something. I felt like an unwilling and unwitting partner to something nefarious. Anyway, you get the picture. If it sounds like no contact is good, I just want to say that I don't think that's true at all. I think we all have spirit helpers who watch out for us every day. Most of us have heard stories where someone averts danger because of a warning from a spirit guide. There are some stories of aliens healing people from diseases or injuries, so it's not all bad and scary. I think it's wise when dealing with the unknown to know where your power is and to use your power. We all have power of discernment, mindfulness, gauging where you are in a relationship and where you stand, and the ability to listen to your intuition. Those are not little things. Those are big things that can help keep you safe and help you to make wise choices. The more you stand in your power, the less fear you will have, and that's critical to choosing a healthy path forward. So once again, we don't have a clear-cut answer on whether aliens or spirits are good or bad, friend or foe. I'd consider anyone who comes out with one straight answer suspect. There are always variables to consider. I think there's more than one type of alien, and if spirits are like people, they're all different too, with different agendas. So sorry that it's not easy, but you do have the tools to decide for yourself. So trust yourself. We all have a still small voice inside that never lets us down. Listen to that. If you can't hear it, cultivate it. You're never alone, and remember that everything will be all right in the end. If it's not all right, it's not the end. So see you guys next week when we talk to Yvonne Smith. Yvonne hypnotizes people who have been abducted. That's an amazing show. So if you haven't subscribed yet, do that now so that you can get it when it's hot off the presses. Ciao. Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you.